All right, let's talk about it. Corvette Gate, Corvette safe. I think that's a new classification term now. Corvette safe. Don't worry, they're Corvette safe. Hey everybody, Damon Roberts back with another video. Glad you could join me. As always, this video is brought to you by our sponsor, Mike Lindell and MyPillow, mypillow.com/LFS6B. Use our promo code LFS6B at checkout for 10 to 60% off. All right, let's talk about Corvette Gate. Here's the big question. Why now? Why now? Why are they publicizing this? Who is publicizing it? Who has gone public? Why are they going public now? What precipitated the personal search of this Penn Biden office think tank, which is still the most amusing thing about the whole thing? What precipitated the search there? Then what precipitated the search following at the residence in Delaware? Then into the garage? Then into the room adjacent to the garage? Why go public now with all this? I mean, we all know they have the media in their back pocket. Who would have truly ever known if they hadn't said this? Or somebody hadn't said something? Was it a whistleblower? Was it someone on Biden's team? Was it someone from the Obama administration? Was it someone who's known this for a lot longer than they're telling us that said, no more? I'm not keeping this a secret anymore. I'm blowing the whistle here. What is the Chinese government involvement with the Biden think tank? We know there's about $60 million of their money put into there. We know what the Biden family was doing over in China. We knew what Hunter Biden was involved with over in China, Ukraine, other parts of the world. And all of this now, of course, going to be subject to oversight committees since the Republicans have magically taken over the House. The timing of all this is quite something to behold. Is the Biden crime family just forced to get ahead of Congressman Comer and the oversight that they know is coming? Joe Biden and the Communist Party of China linked at the hip. Or again, is this a whistleblower who said, this has been going on, we've known about this way longer than from November, and I'm blowing the whistle? They seem to be in quite the rush to get all this out into the public eye here within a matter of 48 to 72 hours.
People know I take classified documents and classified material seriously.
There's no exception in the law for how you feel about classified information. It doesn't matter how you feel about it. You don't need to keep telling us, you know how I take it, I treat it very seriously. Well, clearly you don't treat it very seriously because you've got documents all up and down the East Coast, seemingly from Delaware to Washington to God knows where else. But it doesn't matter. Even if you did take it seriously, you can only talk about it. You didn't have clearance to have this classified information. You were not the president. You were the vice president. There's no exception in the law for what political party you're in. It doesn't matter. Inadvertently misplaced doesn't carry water. It doesn't matter. The timeline laid out by the Attorney General today is extremely interesting.
On the evening of November 4th, 2022, the National Archives Office of Inspector General contacted a prosecutor at the Department of Justice. On November 9th, the FBI commenced an assessment. On November 14th, pursuant to Section 600.2B of the Special Counsel Regulations, I assigned U.S. Attorney Lausch to conduct an initial investigation. On December 20th, President Biden's personal counsel informed Mr. Lausch that additional documents bearing classification markings were identified in the garage of the president's private residence in Wilmington, Delaware.
How is it that Biden's own attorney gets to find and confiscate classified documents without immediately calling the FBI to come in or calling Congress? Who are these attorneys? Do they have clearance to deal with classified information, to handle classified information? Why didn't they call some kind of independent authority when they found out? Why do we have to just believe what's being represented by these attorneys for Joe Biden? What was supposedly found, where they supposedly found it, when they supposedly found it? Why are we just supposed to have to believe all of that? And how is it exactly that they took custody of these documents? Where is the FBI? That's the main question. It took 2 days to inform the DOJ after the first supposed finding of this classified information. The Attorney General says November 9th they do an initial canvassing. Why wasn't the FBI on site searching all of Biden's premises right then? Why weren't they searching Penn Biden's office? Why weren't they searching Delaware? Why didn't they have crews in both places? They went into Mar-a-Lago, no problem, and they had been talking with the former president, and he was the president. He had classification authority or declassification authority as he saw fit. There was no assessment here until a week after the discovery of the first documents. December 20th, it was personal counsel for Joe Biden who found this latest document. Why would be personal counsel and not the FBI at that point? Why was the FBI not searching through this material given the earlier filings and the disclosures as early as back in November? Now there would also appear to be a third discovery of classified material in the Delaware House. Now the other thing that's interesting about the timeline is the Penn Biden Center was founded in 2018. Well, Biden left office in January of 2017. So where were the classified documents that were removed from Biden's VP office that ended up in the Penn Biden Center a year later? Where were they for all of that time in between? They obviously traveled at least once that we know of, maybe twice. Who handled it? Was it Joe? Was it somebody else? Did they have clearance to handle classified information? And the other question that has to be asked is about the National Archives. Because the National Archives, when it came to President Trump, had an enormous, great sense for classified documents not being turned in when it came to President Trump. But clearly they must have been oblivious when it came to Biden and Obama, because Biden clearly has taken multiple troves of classified documents all up and down the East Coast. So how do they factor into this? Why was it that they were so laser focused on they knew that President Trump, there had to be documents missing, but clearly Biden was able to keep these for 7, 8, and 9 years? No one said a word. Now, the mainstream media and all the talking heads out there are trying to do the heavy lifting, just as we would suppose they would do for Biden, telling us how there's no comparison to the Trump situation. And I actually agree. There is no similarities. Biden's is way worse, and it's not even debatable. Now, Matt Margolis over at PJ Media went into 5 differences between Biden and Trump. Number 1, Biden had no authority to declassify the documents. According to Kash Patel, who you see right here on Real America's Voice, a former top Trump administration official, President Trump declassified whole sets of materials in anticipation of leaving government that he thought the American public should have the right to read themselves. Also, on January 19th, 2021, President Trump released a presidential memorandum titled Memorandum on Declassification of Certain Materials Related to the FBI's Crossfire Hurricane Investigation. So clearly there's documentation of the process showing that, at the very least, documents related to Crossfire Hurricane were, in fact, declassified. Now, Joe Biden can't claim to have declassified the documents he had. The Federal Records Act says that only the president can declassify documents, not the vice president. So unless Barack Obama comes forward and says he declassified the documents found in Biden's office and his home and his garage and his bathhouse and his shower and every other place, then these documents were never declassified. Number 2, the National Archives didn't know about the Biden docs. The FBI knew where they were, and it had advised Trump's lawyers to add more security to the room President Trump had at Mar-a-Lago, where they were being stored. The White House and Joe Biden have been carefully pointing out that they are cooperating with the National Archives and the Justice Department, and that they were informed of the discovery immediately, which tells us that the National Archives wasn't even aware that Biden had the documents. That's quite troubling. And again, like I said, they had this enormous sense that there was something missing when it came to Trump, but yet for Biden, 6, 7, 8 years, not a whisper about anything. Biden's documents, number 3, were in multiple locations. All indications are that President Trump was in possession of classified documents he had sent to Mar-a-Lago, placed in a secure room, and left untouched. When then Vice President Biden left office in January 2017, the classified materials were likely brought to his house, I would assume. Some classified documents, however, were found at his private office at the Penn Biden Center, which didn't officially open its doors until more than a year later on February 8th, 2018. Based on this timeline, it seems likely that the classified documents that were found in the Penn Biden office may have come from the cache that was found partly in his garage. Had someone moved them specifically to the garage from the cache at the house, then take them to the Biden office? There's a lot more players seemingly involved. There's a lot more hands on classified information here in the Biden circumstance. Number 4, Biden's documents weren't stored securely. Trump did keep documents at Mar-a-Lago, and while they may not have been stored according to the standards set by the National Archives for the security and storage of classified documents, according to the reports, the documents found in the Penn Biden Center office were in a locked office. But what kind of security was in place? It is unlikely that his office met the standards of the National Archives, which was unaware of the documents even being in Biden's possession in the first place. But even if we assumed that they were properly secure in that location, more documents were found in Biden's garage.
People, and by the way, my Corvette's in a locked garage. Okay, so it's not like you're sitting out in the street. But anyway,
Was in a locked garage.
yes, as well as my Corvette.
Corvette safe is not a classification term, I don't believe. Biden shrugged this off and saying his garage was locked. But would anyone argue that they were stored according to NARA standards? You can see the garage for yourself in the video we played on the show last night. It's a campaign video that Biden did showing off the Corvette. He personally acknowledged this morning that they were kept in the garage to Peter Doocy with the classified documents. In addition to that, in 2015, it was reported that Biden's home security system was so prone to failure that it was switched off by the Secret Service. Trump's home had Secret Service security all over the place, but former vice presidents don't get Secret Service protection. So between the time Biden left the vice presidency in 2017 and the time he took office in 2021, those documents were not properly secured. And number 5, Biden's documents appear to be sensitive in nature. Of course, we all remember the ridiculous claims that Trump had kept nuclear secrets at Mar-a-Lago, but those allegations never panned out, of course, as expected. According to a report from the Washington Post, a review by federal agents and prosecutors did not find, quote, any apparent business advantage to the types of classified information in Trump's possessions, end quote. And that FBI interviews with witnesses, quote, do not point to any nefarious efforts by Trump to leverage, sell, or use the government secrets, end quote. The classified documents found in Biden's office at the Penn Biden Center in November, however, were marked sensitive compartmented information, or SCI. This meant that the documents came from the intelligence sources and were related to Ukraine, Iran, and the United Kingdom. Folks, there is no comparison between the Biden situation and the Trump administration. The Biden situation is way worse. The only question is, why did they blow the whistle now? Is this the beginning of the road to get Joe out of here, and especially out of 2024? Is there something else going on? Are there more people involved? Does this go back longer than November when they tell us, and we're just supposed to take their word, I guess, that his personal attorneys all of a sudden found classified information stuffed in boxes that had been there for 7 or 8 years? Well, the whole thing sounds fishy to me. Now there's a special counsel appointed. We'll see where it goes from here. All right, folks, thanks for joining me in this one. Make sure you visit our sponsor, Mike Lindell, mypillow.com/LFS6B. Use our code LFS6B at checkout for 10 to 60% off most items, and I'll see you in the next one.